Did you know that one of the darkest stories on the internet begins with a simple question? What happens to the human mind when sleep is completely destroyed? For decades, rumors, whispers, and classified documents have circled around one experiment. An experiment said to have gone so horribly wrong that every trace of it was buried. Today, we dive into the full tale of the Russian sleep experiment, its origins, its timeline, its mysteries, and why people still believe it might be based on something real. It begins in the late 1940s, when the world was split by fear, paranoia, and a race for scientific dominance. Nations were desperate for superhuman endurance, soldiers who could fight for days without rest, spies who could resist torture, prisoners who could be broken and rebuilt. In these shadows, a group of Soviet researchers supposedly created a stimulant gas formula and selected 5 political prisoners to test it on. Their goal was simple: keep them awake for 30 days straight. Their reason was anything but simple. The story says the prisoners were sealed inside an airtight chamber lit with bright lights that never turned off. Microphones captured every sound. Cameras watched their every move. The gas began to flow. At first, the prisoners cooperated. They talked, joked, shared stories. Their voices were calm, steady. But as the hours turned into days, something started to happen. Their conversations grew darker. Their tones began to shake. By day 2, paranoia crept in. By day 3, the men stopped trusting each other. By day 4, the first screams came. One man screamed so long, so violently, that his voice tore itself apart. The others tried to quiet him, then ignored him, then joined him. But the guards outside could only listen. They couldn't interfere. And then, suddenly, silence. Not calm silence. The kind of silence that makes the spine feel cold. When the researchers tried speaking to the prisoners through the intercom, no one responded. Days passed. No footsteps. No voices. Just the hum of gas and the crackle of microphones. Finally, one of the researchers announced they would open the chamber. A voice responded. A voice that wasn't trembling or scared. A voice that whispered, "We want the gas. We no longer want to be freed." When the chamber was opened, the room looked like something torn from a nightmare. The men were still alive, barely, but unrecognizable. Their bodies showed wounds no normal person would inflict upon themselves. They had torn into their own skin as if trying to dig something out. Pieces of flesh and clothing were scattered on the floor. Yet they were awake. Awake with eyes that refused to blink. Awake with minds that no longer sounded human. The scientists tried to sedate them, but the men fought with inhuman strength. When one finally lost consciousness, his heart stopped instantly. As though the moment he drifted towards sleep, something inside him shut down forever. Another prisoner whispered with a torn mouth that sleep meant death, that something inside the darkness of their minds had awakened, and it didn't want to go back. Rumors claimed that the remaining subjects begged the researchers to turn the gas back on. They screamed, laughed, begged, attacked anyone who approached, and yet still refused rest. Some stories say a final survivor explained everything, revealing that the experiment didn't awaken madness. It awakened something ancient that lives inside all humans. Something waiting for the moment the mind breaks. Is this story real? Historians and scientists say no. They call it a creepypasta, a dark fictional tale born on internet forums. But some details strike people as strange. The Soviet Union conducted real experiments on sleep deprivation, torture resistance, isolation chambers, and psychological endurance. Some records were destroyed. Some projects were erased. Some testimonies were silenced. So people still wonder, was this story pure fiction, or was it inspired by something much darker? And even if the specific story isn't real, one fact is certain: severe sleep deprivation can cause hallucinations, paranoia, loss of identity, violent behavior, and total psychological collapse. It doesn't take 15 days. It can start in less than 4. As the tale closes, one question remains: what truly happens inside the human mind when the barrier between waking and dreaming shatters? What do we become when the body refuses sleep and the brain begins to unravel? Do you think the Russian sleep experiment was purely a myth, or do you believe it was inspired by a real classified project? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more chilling stories and dark history investigations.